Hi guys, welcome back to Greenhawks RC. This is a little video about the simple motors for vintage Tamiya. I know many of you like myself were into the hobby in the 80s and got back into it recently and found everything's changed. It's now all about brushless motors and lipo and all that other good stuff. But if you want to run the old vintage stuff, the classics and the re-releases, keep things simple, it was a discovering experience. Just finding out what works, what's available these days. So I thought this might be a little bit of a guide to anyone getting back into the hobby or any newcomers. First up, there's the bog standard silver can 540 motor that comes with most kits. It's about 14,500 RPM, 27 turns. Pros are it's very durable, great control for beginners because it's fairly slow. Standard in many kits, good battery life, but the cons, like I say, it's a little bit slow and it's non-rebuildable. Next up, if you're looking to upgrade, the good old faithful Tamiya Sports Tune motor. Now this one is about 18,300 RPM with 23 turns. Pros are it's quite nippy, it's got good acceleration and you still get a decent amount out of your battery life. One of the main cons are it's not rebuildable, you can't change the brushes, so once it's worn out, it's worn out, but it's a nice little upgrade, it gives you that little bit extra punch. Works particularly well on like the old vintage Tamiya runners. Next up we have my personal favourite of all the modern motors. This is the Tamiya Superstock. You've got the BZ and the RZ there, there is other variants. This is a 23 turn motor, it's knocking out round about 26,500 RPM. Now the advantage of this one is it's high torque, high top end, it's fully rebuildable, so you can change the brushes, change the bearings, or put bearings in on the end, etc. It's got anodised end bell, it's got a terminal heatsink, detachable chip capacitor, and that's a perky little motor. That really does add some nip factor to any of your vintage Tamiya models, and I found it works really well in the buggies, the monster trucks, pretty much everything. Not a bad price either, you can pick one of them up for around about 35 quid. Cons are, you've got a shorter battery life, it doesn't last quite as long obviously as the lower powered ones, and it is working the TBLE-0 and TBLE-0 ESC'S to the maximum. Sometimes if you're pushing them too hard in the summer you might get the thermal cutout come in, but I've not had that as yet. So they are a quality little motor. You can take them apart, clean them up, service them. Can't recommend these ones enough. And this one I'm sure all the old school remember, one of the most iconic motors Tamiya's ever made. The RX 540 VZ Technigold. Absolute beautiful piece of engineering. Obviously it's getting on a bit now, it's old technology, but I still love it as a motor. It's one of my personal favourites. It's 21 turn, knocking out around about 22,000 RPM. Now the pros of this one are, it's gorgeous. I mean, just look at that casing. Lovely vintage design, fully rebuildable, adjustable timing. It's so smooth. The sound is absolutely amazing. There's nothing like a Technigold when it comes to the sound it emits. Very quick for the time period. It's fully ball race, so you've got bearings on each end of the rotor. And it's actually very robust. I've yet to kill one of these and I've had multiple amounts over the years. Got to be my favourite brush motor of all time. The cons are they're very expensive to get hold of now, and they're very hard to get hold of the brushes now, and if you can find them you're looking at about 40-50 quid a set just to change the brushes. Also the brush replacement isn't one of the easiest jobs, because you've got to remove the solder at the end of the old brushes and resolder the new ones in. But absolutely cracking motor, I love it to bits. I run that in all my Porsche 959 chassis cars, I've had it in Monster Beetles, I've had it in buggies in the past. Absolutely divine. So real classic Tamiya royalty, that one. Finally we have this one, which is actually a brushless motor. Now, it's my first brushless, and in all honesty I was extremely disappointed with it. It's the TBLE-0 by Tamiya, very expensive at around about 75 quid. but it's only a 21.5 turn, which I thought would be fairly good. Unfortunately, it was slower than a silver can brushed. Was thoroughly underwhelmed with that one. You've also got to run a sensor wire to your ESC, and I found it extremely slow, and a total waste of money in all honesty. So I've gone back to brush motors, but that one's yet to be actually left in a runner for any amount of time because it's been so underwhelming. Of course, the only advantage is you don't have to change brushes on them. But other than that, I can't really say too much positive about that one. So there you have it. Just a little brief look at some of the motors we run in our vintage cars here at Greenhorse RC. These motors are all compatible with nickel metal hydride and the TBLE series ESC'S. Match most of the Tamiya models well. This is just a sample guide for those new or getting back into the hobby. Give them a little bit of a guide in the right direction. Obviously other motors are available like the Dirt Tune, the GT Tuned, etc. But this is pretty much the picker bunch of what we use. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this has been handy for some of you. Cheers. Bye.